So, welcome everyone. I am Sammy Samantha Williams, President and CEO of 628 Digital Design, where I like to say we drive innovation through sustainable digital content marketing, design, and strategy. And this is a little bit about me. I think a few of you here already know me, but in addition to, 628 is a digital content design and strategy company for where we provide diverse content for inclusive audiences, for diverse audiences. And we also do, in addition to marketing, we also do consultation services. So we provide assistance with grants, business certifications, capability statements, some of the things we're going to talk about today. In addition to that, I'm also the president and co-founder of CMWP Foundation and the collaboration of minority women professionals. So CMWP Foundation is a nonprofit entrepreneurial support organization empowering Black and minority men, women, and children entrepreneurs. Shout out to our members who are here today. And we have over 200 members who are part of the collaboration of minority women professionals. I'm also serving on the board of the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce and B Local Connecticut, which is that big B that you see here on the slide, and you're going to see on every slide just about. So down on the left are some awards and accolades myself and the business have been awarded over the years. And on the right is some of that alphabet soup that we're going to talk about, these certifications that we have. So today we're going to cover the three C's of corporate and federal contracting, and it's all about building relationships, making sure that you have the competency and capacity to navigate these contracting streets, whether it's federal or corporate. Make sure you're prepared because I don't know if any of you are already doing some city, state, municipality contracting with corporations, or even the federal level when it comes to the different departments and agencies that we have. But winning one good contract can really set you up for income stability. Cheryl is bidding, very good. You have to start somewhere. Bidding is always good. Doing those RFPs, I got like 8 on my desk I got to respond to. Um, some of these contracts, most of the contracts are multi-year contracts. And so minimally you'll have a 1 year contract or a one project contract. Usually the contracts are 2 to 3 or sometimes 5 years. And that's why it takes so long for you to see opportunities to come back up again because they have someone on that contract for the duration of that. And then when that contract is about to be up again, then you can see who the incumbent is. The incumbent is the current business that's awarded that contract. You can see how much that contract was awarded when it was awarded a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And then it gives you an opportunity to know where you should be when it comes to pricing, because sometimes a lot of these projects are just best pricing, right? But when you have that stable income coming in, now you can build your operations out, right? Now you can build your team. You can do your first hire, your third hire, build an extension of your team. But it also helps you build your credibility because as you can see, when you go through the contracting process, there's a lot of vetting that goes into it. And so you're really showing your business professionalism and you're showing your credibility. All right. Trying to get back over here to click. I felt like we skipped one. Uh, okay. So we're going to dig right into what is a capability statement. Is there anyone here who does not already have a capability statement? Oh, and also, this is not going to be just me talking to y'all. I like participation and also just cut me off if you have a question about anything. So everybody here has a capability statement right now?
Working on it.
Okay. Yes, you told me that the other day when I talked to you. So that's a yes for everybody else. We all have a
No,
capability statement.
I don't have one yet, Fernanda.
Fernanda doesn't have one. Stanley doesn't. Asha does. Hey, girl. Hey.
Ray does
Um,
not.
Ray does not have a capability statement. Does anybody have an idea what a capability statement is besides Asha? Is she the only one that has one so far?
No.
Okay.
Like a resume, but for like corporate or whatever that or contracting.
Yes, so that's what I always like to say that your resume, your capability statement is like a resume for your business. So just like you have your usually 1 to 2 page business resume, you would also have a 1 page capability statement. Capability statement should not be more than 1 page. And it has a defined structure. Cheryl has one. It has a defined structure, and it's full of keywords. That means you have to do a little bit of research to understand what your keywords should be that you're going to include in your capability statement. It could be your products and services, but it could be other things that you want to include also. So it's going to share your company facts, your experience, and performance information. And it's recommended that you have one, if you're in both spaces, federal and corporate, it's recommended that you have a capability statement for each. And we're going to talk about that one on the next slide. So the capability statement is important to have because it's expected to have. Some of you have seen me registering for different matchmakers. Those of you in Connecticut, we have a matchmaker coming up March 5th. And when you go to matchmakers like that, they expect you to come with a capability statement because that's how you speak to the government. That's how you speak to corporate buyers. You have to use their language. They're not just going to want a brochure. They may want a capability statement in a brochure, but they're absolutely going to look for both of those. Well, at least look for the capability statement. And so it sets you aside, right? If you're talking to a buyer about a potential opportunity, you don't have a capability statement, but the business right next to you does. You guys are identical basically, but they have this tool that is needed in order to open doors and have conversations with federal and corporate buyers. So that's one check already off their list. Now you have to go and say, oh crap, they had a capability statement thingy. What is that? I should go get one too. So capability statement is going to be critical when you're navigating these streets. And so uh, when I talk about the difference between the two and why you want to have two, it's really the wording. The structure is going to remain the same, but it's the content. So your certifications on your corporate capability statement is going to be very different from your certifications listed on your government capability statement. Why? Government agencies have set asides. Those are depending on your socioeconomic status, if you're a veteran, the government will set aside a particular number of contracts in dollars for certified woman-owned small business, certified service disabled veteran-owned small business, certified veteran-owned business, 8A businesses. Um, but if you don't have those certifications, if you are a woman and you own a business, but you're not certified as a woman-owned small business through the SBA, you're not eligible for those set-aside contracts when they come out. So the government is looking for the government issued certifications. Those are all free. Corporations are looking for the private certifications, and we're going to go through this, but those are the minority business enterprise, the women's business enterprise certifications. You pay for those, and for all of the certifications, you have to renew them every year. Um, but if you put your SBA certifications in your marketing to corporate buyers, it doesn't mean anything to them. It doesn't give you any edge up by having those certifications. However, if you have those private certifications, the WeBank and NMSDC, we'll talk about those, then the private corporations are saying, oh, okay, you're a certified women's business enterprise. You're a certified minority business enterprise. And then you're eligible for contracting in that. Well, it makes you more eligible for contracting in that space. The other thing is past performance. So I learned this when I was participating in the Morgan Stanley Small Business Academy. That's a great program open to men and women, and they are recruiting people for that program now. Morgan Stanley Small Business Academy. Um, when I was in that program, I had my capability statement. We had to do pitches to Carla Harris and to the executive team over at Morgan Stanley. And they loved my capability statement. I mean, they loved it, but their only feedback was they were like, what are past performance? And they didn't understand that. And I was like, those are my clients that I've worked for. And they said, oh, well, when you're talking to the corporate people, you need to say that. Like the government wants to hear past performance. The corporations want to hear current and previous clients. Something worded around that way so that because that's the language they use. In the government, you could put clients, they will know what clients are, but the government wants you to use their language and they say past performance. So on your government capability statement, you're going to list past performance. The other thing is the UEI versus the DUNS number. The UEI is the unique entity identifier. Your DUNS number is given to you through a separate organization, Dun and Bradstreet. Your UEI you get when you register your entity, which is your business, in sam.gov. Is there anybody here who's not registered in sam.gov? It's okay. Come on, tell me. So everybody's in sam.gov?
I started my registration. I have a few more steps that I have to complete, but I'm almost there.
Okay. Asher says she is not in sam.gov. So the first step in any of these processes is going to be getting your business entity registered in sam.gov. And that could take some time. It's not exactly easy. One of our repeat clients just hired us to register both of her businesses in sam.gov because and she has a team. Her and her team gave up on it and said, nope, I'm not doing it. And so Alyssa, sorry, Alyssa, I'm trying to work my mouse. We just went through a merger, and I do believe we are registered. I have gone through the process at other companies. Yes, so this client who came back kind of similar, they had a company that was registered, but then it lapsed. And so now you got to do the entity registration again. But then they also set up a subsidiary, and that subsidiary needs to also be registered in sam.gov. So when you're doing mergers and acquisitions and setting up subsidiaries, you got to think about all of that too. So when you register your entity in sam.gov, it will give you your UEI number. Every business has its own unique UEI number, and sam.gov will also give you your cage code. Those are free. They come through sam.gov. Also, um, the sam.gov setup process and your certifications are all things that you can do for free. There's also resources. I won't say free, but tax funded resources like Apex Accelerators, the SBA. They have resources to help you. If you decide to outsource that, just make sure it's a credible firm like 628, right? Because there are other people, like once you start that sam.gov registration process, they just come like vultures trying to get you and they want you and they send you emails that look legit. And sometimes it takes a really good eye to realize this is not from the government. The government does not charge you anything to do sam.gov certifications, um, any of that. So unless you're working with a real consultant, then just you can delete a lot of those emails. Let me go back here. All right, so when we talk about the different sections of the capability statement, all capability statements are pretty much going to have the same headings. Um, and so you have your company overview, you'll start there. That's 4 to 5 sentences, it's very brief. And remember your targeted keywords. Then you have your core competencies. These are the things that your company is mostly known for. Those are going to be your top sellers. And you want to use bullet points throughout. This is a very quick read kind of thing. Underneath your core competencies, you'll have your secondary competencies, right? So for me, I'll have an example of my capability statement later. My core competencies are the marketing services we provide at 628, right? My secondary competencies, I don't have it labeled that. I have it labeled workshops and training, I believe. Because my core competencies are providing marketing services. Set on a secondary basis, I also provide a variety of training and workshops. So that's what I have listed there. Then you have, remember we talked about our past performance versus current and previous clients. For that, you can just list logos. And so if you're newer in business and you know you have experience, but it's not through the business, then you can use the logos of people or companies that you've worked with on the outside of the business, on the private side. And then as you continue to build your business and acquire that past performance, those clients, then you can start to replace those logos with um, more relevant logos. The other thing is too, sometimes you'll have to prepare a specific capability statement. So, say it's on the corporate side, but this corporate entity is looking for, which has happened to me before, they're looking for social media management only. So then I craft the capability statement for corporate, but I'm only going to include, I'm going to make it specific to social media management. So those logos for my past performance, current clients are going to be the businesses that I provided social media management for. And my bullet points for my core competencies is all going to be related to um, social media management. Then you'll have a section on your capability statement for your differentiators. And this is a very important section because it helps the viewer know what makes you different from anybody else, right? And in today's time, you can do things like using AI, ChatGPT, to say, this is my company, upload your what you have for a capability statement. If you have a bio, you can upload that. Put your website in there. You can put your social media links and say, tell me what sets me apart from my competitors. Who are my competitors and what makes me different? So AI can definitely help with that. And then you're going to have your company data. We're going to talk all about the data. That's a whole thing. And for me, we're certified B Corp, right? That means we are very much invested in social and environmental issues. So on my capability statement, I have a sustainability and ESG section. And you don't need to have a sustainability and ESG section on your capability statement, but it should. Sustainability and ESG is very important to buyers on the federal side and on the corporate side. So make sure that you're speaking towards sustainability in some way. ESG is environmental social governance. So make sure that it's on your website somewhere, how you are sustainable, how you are an environmental impact agency, a social impact company. What are you doing in your business to improve the social experience or the environment? Any questions so far? No questions? All right. So when we talk about creating your capability statement, these are some of the data that I was talking about. So first we start with our NAICS codes. Anyone here know what the NAICS codes are?
Oh, the specifically what your business does. I just
Mm-hmm.
remember scrolling through the list on sam.gov for a while, looking for exactly what my profession was.
Yes. So it's your industry specific code. And you can get it from, if you can Google NAICS, but it's the US Census that gives it to you. Um, and you can have multiple NAICS codes, but you want to make sure you identify your primary NAICS code and then you have all your other secondary NAICS code. So for instance, my primary NAICS code is going to be related to marketing services, but I also have, well, you'll see in a bit, but I also have a bunch of other NAICS codes for training, graphic design, internet stuff, websites, consulting work. Those are all additional NAICS codes. And you want to know what those NAICS codes are because later I have a slide with different RFP databases that you can get in. And those, when you register in those databases, you're going to enter your NAICS codes. And then what happens is when opportunities come up that match your NAICS code, they'll email you. So that's why you want to know your NAICS codes. And it's easy if you have it documented on your capability statement. I refer back to my capability statement maybe 8 to 10 times a week, especially when I'm registering for matchmakers because they ask for the NAICS codes. RFP databases ask for it. Your UEI we talked about, that's from sam.gov. Remember, corporations don't they don't care about your UEI. They care about your DUNS number. Government definitely doesn't care about your DUNS number. They care about the UEI. However, the UEI is becoming more popular, and especially with state and city municipalities, they are expecting you to have a UEI. That's why I say no matter what, start in sam.gov because it's going to prepare you for what you need. The DUNS number, Data Universal Numbering System, that's from Dun and Bradstreet. And it's like it's attached to your business credit file. So, we all have business credit, we have personal credit. Your business credit is through DUNS. And then we have your EIN, right? So that's where we're going to start, right? Because we don't have a business without the EIN. So you start with your EIN. That's through the IRS. That's for free. Also, you can get an EIN in seconds. Don't let anyone charge you. I won't even charge you to set up an EIN because this doesn't make sense. Um, And then you're just going to maintain that information and that'll be on your capability statement. Any questions? Remember,
Yes,
it's a safe.
I have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Where does a cage code fall into those? Is that equivalent to kind of like a UEI?
No, the cage code is through, you get that through sam.gov with the when you're going through the process of setting up your entity in sam.gov, it'll give you your UEI and your cage code. I forget which comes first. I also don't know the purpose of the cage code. The government, because the government said so. So, and they give it to you. So once you're registered in sam.gov, you get your UEI, you get your cage code. The cage code is related, whatever the government is doing on their back end and their practices, they need the cage code to match your entity and things like that. When you are doing federal contracting, your payments are also through sam.gov. So part of sam.gov setup is registering your business bank account. So and they confirm that. They government has ways of doing everything. And so your cage code may be associated to the payments that they're making through sam.gov, but either way it's free and it's given to you through sam.gov with the UEI. Any other questions? This is a safe space, y'all. Come on. All right, so this is your contact information that you want to include on the capability statement. Um, the primary contact and what their title is, a phone number, and if you have a landline and a mobile, you just want to call that out. Your address, your website, email address, your email address, the government, corporate probably too, they like to see a name associated with the email address. So my primary email is info@628. Um, but I set up, I think, 6 more aliases today under my email address. So if anyone emails Samantha@628, Sammy@628, contact at, all of that will come to the same email address. But when I'm doing my capability statement, I'm going to use Samantha@628digitaldesign.co. I'm not going to use info at, because I know buyers don't like that. But I know that's the main one that I am using. And then also, so as you see, that's a domain professional email address, right? So we're not doing 628 digitaldesign@gmail.com. We're definitely not doing Hotmail, AOL, Yahoo, right? We need a branded email address. If you have at gmail.com, I got an IT guy for you. Your fax number. So a lot of the phone providers, you can get a fax number through the phone provider. So I use phone.com. There's a guy in my BNI chapter who helps set up business phone numbers also. And they can also give you a fax number. Nowadays, it's not the clunky fax machine that we used to have. It's through like a PDF. So you take a picture, a screenshot, and it emails it. Basically, that email counts as fax. That's important on the government side because it's the government and they're antiquated and they still use fax. And they will say, we need you to fax this document over to us, submit it via fax. And so I like to say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, because last thing you want is to be in communications with a government agency about a contract and they want you to fax something, or they want to send you something via fax and you don't have it. So if you don't have a fax number, see if you can add it to your business line or whatever you're using. Chrissy says, do you really have other have a fax? Yes, you really need a fax number. They're looking for it. It's the government. They're old school sometimes. Um, Social media. So one thing about social media, you want to make sure you have a social media presence, right? Because there, peop, there are people behind those government agencies. Those are buyers. Those are people. They're going to do research. There's people now who contact me all the time and say, I followed you for 4 years. Now I'm going to work with you, right? So one, you want to make sure you have a consistent social media presence, and your social media is presenting you as an industry thought leader. So you don't want to just be posting stuff, but also you want to make sure your social media is clean and professional, and they're not going to find something they shouldn't be seeing on your social media. So with my marketing hat on, I mean, this is all marketing to corporations and the government, but with my marketing hat on, you don't want to be commingling your social media accounts. You need a personal account, you need a business account. If you have multiple businesses that you want multiple social media accounts, that's fine. I've been there, done that. But you definitely do not want to have a personal account, your personal stuff blended into your business social media. So you want to make sure that those are fully separated. Uh, so here's a copy of my capability statement. This is me playing around with AI, and I love this one. So I threw it in AI with a bunch of other stuff, and then it produced this document. But as you can see, the structure, the layout of the capability statement. On one side, you have all of your content, right? So it's a little hard to read here, but you have your it starts with capability statement because we call a thing, right? So it's the capability statement, your company overview, go into your core capabilities, secondary capabilities, your differentiators. And then for me, I have sustainability and ESG on the left. And you can see it's all keyword heavy, bullet point heavy. Then across the bottom, we have the past performance. So as you can see, it's just the logos, right? We are a government contractor, so depending on who I'm submitting the capability statement to, I may have a section on here. That's right, I find a way to fit in here with contract information because especially when I'm applying with the government, they want to know what government agencies have you worked with, what was the contract number, what was the contract name, and the value of the contract. And so finding a way to fit all of that in here. And then on the right hand side, I have the business logo and I have the B Corp. I'm telling you that B Corp goes everywhere with me. And then you have the company data. So first you have the contact information, um, all your emails, socials, and then you get into the data. So it's a little hard to read here, but it has like the cage code, the UEI. I have an Ariba number for our contract we have with Eversource. So Eversource, for those not in New England, is New England's largest supplier. So if you're, there might be people here from New York. It's like Con Edison of New England. And so there's a lot of companies that do their procurement and contracting through Ariba. And it's a number that I have to refer to quite often. So I throw it on a capability statement. And then down below are the NAICS codes, and then our certifications. So when you hand a buyer this capability statement and they have the hold on, and they can quickly see your capabilities, they can see your NAICS codes, and they can see your certifications. I go to matchmakers all the time. I hand my capability statement to someone and they say, okay, good, you're already certified with New York City and state as a MWBE, Minority Women Business Enterprise. They look at this and say, oh, you're with WeBank already. Perfect. You're with NMSCC. Perfect. Because they know when you're getting, we're going to talk about certifications, but when you're getting certified, there's a whole credibility process. Like you have to prove who you are. You have to prove that your company does what it says it does. So when for you to get past that and to actually be certified, it means okay, you're vetted. They did their research. They know who you are. I can trust your products and services. So that's the capability statement. And then I have a couple of sample capability statements for y'all to look at. So you don't just have mine. I will say Apex really likes mine and use mine as an example all the time. Um, so you can see here how their capability statement is outlined. So if you look on the bottom here, their past performance, this is an example how they're listing their contract information. For them, they have more codes that so this is a very um, industrial web capability statement company. So you can see their core competencies are nuts, bolts, studs, screws, right? Then they have their certifications for Navy specifications. On the right, they have their differentiators. You can also put your core values on here if you have that established already. And then they have more codes. They have their NAICS codes and PSC codes on the bottom. And then the very bottom is their contact information. Um, and then they have some pictures of their nuts and bolts that they have there. Um, and then this is another example of a capability statement. Looks a little less blurry on my smaller screen here. But you can see how it's outlined. Again, it's all of these are going to be branded, right? Because your capability statement is a marketing tool. So of course it's going to be branded. Here they have their company overview. It's called a capability statement. They have their core competencies, their past performance. So they're given the logos, the company name, and a blurb about what they did with that company. Here on the left, on the right, you can see that they are certified, a woman-owned small business. So that certification that they have is more than just a woman-owned small business. It could be more. So it's a SWAM, small woman and minority owned business. So as long as you fit one of those categories, you would get that SWAM certification. I'm doing work right now in West Virginia, and the state of West Virginia also has that SWAM certification. Um, and then they have their cage code, DUNS number. They have the SBA logo, which makes me think they're certified with the SBA, but it doesn't say which one specifically. And then their NAICS codes on the bottom. All right. Any questions on capability statements before we get into the bio? Going once, going twice. Okay. So now we're going to talk about our corporate bio. Does everyone here already have a bio? Y'all are a quiet bunch.
Yes, I do.
That was Michael. Okay. Anybody else have a bio?
I have one. It
Ray
might
has a
be
bio.
updated though.
Hey, thank you for joining.
Of course.
So your bio and your capability statement is similar to, remember we said the capability statement is your resume for your business. Just like your actual resume that you would use in business. These are living, breathing documents. So you want to be updating your bio, your capability statement in your resume. We're not talking about resumes, but even as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you need a resume. There are many, many times I'm asked for my resume. I have resumes for my team. When I'm partnering with other agencies or firms, whatever it is, I ask for their resumes. When you're responding to RFPs, requests for proposals, a lot of times they ask for the resumes of the people doing the work. So if you don't have a resume, include that in the work that you're going to be doing here because you absolutely need a resume. But you also want to be updating your resume, capability statement, your bio. That could be for big things, for little things, right? When we got certified as a B Corp, better believe all of the above got updated. When I was appointed to the board of the Greater New Haven Chamber, I went to my bio and make sure I updated that. My cover slide here that I use for my presentations, those get updated, right? So you always want to make sure you have the most relevant information. Also putting it on your website because AI is searching for companies. People are using AI to search. I just got contacted last week from a company who found me on ChatGPT. They asked ChatGPT for the best Black-owned marketing agencies in the country, and we were on the top 5 list. Okay, I am best friends with Chatty too, ChatGPT, but I'm just saying. So AI is going to be searching the internet, right? AI is going to be searching your website for information. So you want to make sure that all your most important and relevant information is updated on the website. So the corporate bio. So the corporate bio, and we're only going to talk about this briefly because we got to get into certifications. It's a one-page document that's going to highlight your experience, your backgrounds, your skills, your achievements. Can a company bio be used solely when it is a single-owned LLC? What do you mean by company bio? Can you come off mute, Cheryl? So if you're trying to come off mute, I'll try to think through it. So The company doesn't have a bio. The company would have the capability state. Oh, there you go.
Right. So in the case for a bio as a single owned LLC company, can it be a combination of the company and the owner's bio
Yeah.
together?
Yeah. So, but the bio, it's a professional bio, so it's about an individual. So that individual, like the next slide is a copy of my bio, right? So I own my company. So I have my accomplishments, and then I have company accomplishments. And then I have extracurricular things that are in there also. So your capability statement isn't going to be about you, it's about the company. Your bio is going to be specific for you yourself. And I will say a lot of people want a very short bio. And then so what I usually do is have the full bio and then I have a shorter bio that's a snippet of that one. But it's very, very hard for me to cut down my bio. Sorry. Sometimes I had to send my bio this morning because it's something that's always being asked. And they asked for a very brief bio, and they got what y'all about to see on the next slide because that's what I have. Um, so your bio, like you can include your logo on it. You can include a headshot if you like, because a lot of times they ask for your bio and headshot at the same time. Um, but it gives the buyer a better idea of who you are, right? Because remember, people do business with those they know, like, and trust. So they can know your company, but do they know you? And when they see your bio, it gives them a little bit more information. Maybe it's like, oh, we went to the same school together. Towards the bottom, you can add more extracurricular stuff like hobbies and family and stuff, right? So they can be like, oh, you vacation at the Cape, I vacation at the Cape. Oh, you play rugby, I play rugby, right? So it adds another level of personality to the document that can allow you to connect with other people. Um, but it is a networking tool, right? So after matchmakers, people may ask for your capability statement and your bio. If you're asked to be a speaker somewhere, they usually 99% ask for your bio because when they introduce you, they're going to pull from that bio. So you also want to make sure your bio has things in it that you're okay with being read out loud. um, your bios also should be on your website, and then you can take your bio, modify it for your website because those may be two different versions, and then you can also take that bio and modify it for your LinkedIn profile, your personal LinkedIn profile. Your business LinkedIn profile should have, that's where you'll have a business bio at, Cheryl, when they ask for a description of your company and services and things. um, so some of the key components of your bio is your intro, right? Who are you? Any credentials that you want to list and include, your professional experience, any key achievements, your skills, expertise. This is where you get further down into your bio. We talk about your education, your certifications, and then you may want to include some community involvement also. I think it's really good to include community involvement because it adds more insight for the buyer, whoever's reading your bio, but it also shows that you're not just a capitalist out here to make money. You also contribute to the community in some fashion. So if you're not serving on a board, look for a board. If you're not involved in the community somewhere, that can be even at your church somewhere. So just look for ways you can get involved in the community so that you can add that to your resume and just adds your bio, and it just adds a little bit more background for you. Any other questions? So here's a copy of my bio. It's since been updated, but it's just as long still. But you can see it starts at the very top with some keywords of who I am, what I do, my experience. Next, it goes right into my businesses because that's what I do. I'm in business, right? So it talks about the different businesses I set up, and then it goes into our certifications that we have. After that, it goes into awards that myself and the company have received. And then it concludes with some community service. So yeah, this is a previous one because it lists other boards I was on at the time. And I am not on any of those boards anymore. But then it also lists some of my education and training that I have. And As you can see, it flows kind of like a letter, business letter style. It doesn't need to include the headshot, but you can include it. And I like it justified. That's when the margins are even on both sides. So but Tiffany likes to say it's a Sammyism, but I don't know. I like it justified. All right. Now we're going to dig into certifications. Any questions on capability statements and bios before we go into certifications? Okay. So these are the different types of certifications. And as you see, they lead to, these are all vital contracting vehicles, right? You have your federal, those are your government certifications. And that could be the national government that certifies you as a woman-owned small business, veteran-owned business, service disabled veteran-owned business, 8A. Hub Zone also is included in that. Those are all free. You could have state level certifications, like the example we had with what was it, the small and woman minority SWAMs, small woman and minority certifications. So depending on your state, most states are free for their state certifications. Some vary. In West Virginia, I think it's 150 or 200 they have to pay for that SWAM certification. New York City and state are free certifications. Those, again, you get certified as a minority women business enterprise. So minority or a woman or both. At the city and state level, New York City certification is a whole lot easier than New York State, but it is possible. You do not need to have your business registered in New York to get either of those certifications. I have them all. Then you have your national certifications. That's WeBank and NMSDC. Those are the ones you pay for, right? And so all of these certifications, they do different things, but they are all great in professionalizing your brand, just keep helping you differentiate your brand, right? This is what's going to set you apart from the other people in your industry. And also all the different opportunities that you can gain from certification. So it is your strategic advantage. Um, and it does help you open doors, have conversations, give you opportunities. Um, we talked about the set asides, right? So even on the corporate side, they do set asides, and corporate entities could set aside contracts for minority business enterprise, women business enterprise. There was a contract I went after with a consortium of other B Corps because it was the first time we ever saw a set aside for a certified B Corp. And so that's gaining in popularity too. And we're not discussing B Corp here. That's a whole other beast. We're not doing that. Then you can show up in supplier diversity search databases. So if you're not familiar with the term supplier diversity, that's something you want to start getting familiar with. Organizations on the corporate side and federal side have supplier diversity departments, representatives, and goals. So not all corporations have supplier diversity goals. The government has their set aside goals, which is it could fall under supplier diversity. But corporations, some of them have set aside, and well, not set aside, but they have said we want X amount of contracts or dollars or percentage of our contracts to go to minority businesses, women-owned businesses, LGBTQ-owned businesses. Um, and so you end up in their, when you register with them, you end up in their databases. So I'm certified, let's see, in Connecticut, I'm certified as a small minority business enterprise. Right now, Connecticut doesn't have a women's business enterprise. They say it's coming. We'll see. Um, and so I get contacted a lot from people who want to include me in their proposals because it will help increase their likelihood of getting that contract. And so if there's a RFP that comes out and let's see. So Greg is an electrician, right? So there could be an RFP that comes out for a construction job or electrical job. And another bigger company, say we call them primes. Primes are the company going after the contract. And then you have the subcontractors. So a prime could come and contact Greg and say, would you like to be a subcontractor on this project? And can you submit your MBE certification? Because they get credit for that. There's RFPs that say all the time, when we're grading, scoring your proposal, you'll get 10 to 15 extra points if you are certified or if you're subcontracting with a certified person. So I get these calls and emails all the time. Most recently was UConn reached out to me because they were submitting some kind of research proposal, and there was a set aside for a disadvantaged business enterprise, a DBE. And so UConn reached out to me and asked if I could be included, if they could include me on their proposal, and also if I could submit my DBE paperwork to show that I am certified. So I get those types of opportunities. And then it's just the people or companies that know they want to hire a women business enterprise, minority business enterprise. So they search the databases, they find companies they think are qualified, and then they reach out to you. I got a contract through a local transit agency here, well, a bus company, because they found me on the state's website for being certified. And also that one I think was a DBE also because it's the DBE Disadvantaged Business Enterprise goes through the Department of Transportation, and that was a transit organization. Um, but it's the same at the government level. Our federal contract that we were on, we were listed in the SBA's database as a certified woman-owned small business. So when that RFP was coming out, the procurement officer contacted me directly like 4 times to make sure I knew about the opportunity, make sure I submitted my proposal, giving me updates after the proposals were submitted. So there's lots of opportunities that way. And then you have introductions to Fortune 500 companies and federal agencies, and those are through your matchmakers or through like WeBank and NMSDC. So WeBank certifies you at the national level as a women's business enterprise. The NMSDC, National Minority Supplier Development Council, certifies you at the national level as a minority business enterprise, MBE. And they host lunch and learns, meet and greets, matchmakers. Is Asha still on? Me and Asha met in Miami
I'm here.
uh, at the NMSDC's conference, and at their conference, it was huge the number of corporations that they had available, Fortune 500 companies that we could speak to and meet with and pitch our companies to them. Um, but then there's also opportunity. So one is like one, I get to meet people like Asha, right? So there's a lot of networking that happens when you when you're certified, because now you're in this like exclusive group of people where you get opportunities that everybody else doesn't get opportunities for. So there's targeted networking and mentorship. My first mentor I met at a WeBank event here in Connecticut. Pratt and Whitney, I think it was. No, Pitney Bowes. Pitney Bowes was doing a lunch and learn so that we can come in and learn what products and services they're buying, how to do business with them. And I ended up meeting my mentor there. We ended up working on projects together. She was the prime, I was the sub. She brought me into that. Um, there's lots of professional development. I have a wall here full of certifications and awards that I've been receiving through the certifications, right? So I have training through eCornell, completed 2 certification programs there, like women in leadership, women in business, things like that. There's one back here from Wharton School of Business that I did. That one was through the NMSDC. I'm in a program now. Those who know me know I'm always in a program, and that's through WeBank and NMSDC. So I'm in a program now with NMSDC. I know Asha just graduated from a program with NMSDC where you have cohorts that you're participating in these programs with, and you're learning from other people, meeting new people. You have opportunities to pitch your services. And we talked about the matchmakers, right? There's something in the chat. Let me go over here. How can we verify a company that's reaching out to include my business as a subcontractor? Well, one, if it's like UConn, you pretty much know it's UConn. They have branded emails. Their emails are at uconn.edu. You can look for them on LinkedIn. You can go to their website and see if they are legit or not. The only issue with them reaching out like that is they're including you in a proposal to hope that they get the business because they said they're going to include a minority woman disadvantaged business enterprise on it. The hope is that when and if they are awarded that contract, they actually come in and tag you back in and you do that work. So there are some people who may just want to try to use you to get over and get the contract and not give it to you. The only way for you to know that is if you follow up and check and see who was it awarded, who is the incumbent, when was it awarded, things like that. Yes, Asha, it was a good experience. We found out we are tea girlies and we have that in common. So understanding the certification landscape. So we talked about the different types of certifications, the federal, national, corporate, and state and local. This was designed by AI, so it threw B Corp in there. B Corp should not be there, so ignore B Corp. But we talked about the differences in the certifications, right? Federal is the government. And city and state may also care about your federal certifications, but that's basically if it's like the Department of Energy or the Department of Defense, or our contract was with NOAA, right? The federal government wants those certifications from the SBA. The third party certifications from WeBank and NMSDC, those are going to be on the corporate side, and you pay for those. Then you have your city and state, your local certifications. And those could be free. You may have to pay for those also, depending on the city or state. So now we're going to get into why. Why are we out here getting certifications? For me, I think I have on one of these slides, I'm a certified DBE in like 14 states, right? But you got to maintain these certifications. Um, Going after the woman-owned small business, the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, veteran-owned business. All these certifications take time. But when you're looking at the government side of it, um, these are the goals that the government has set up. And so the goals have been decreased recently through to our current administration, but the you can see, I think you see a little text box for that 10. I have to cover that because it used to be 25% goal for the government doing business with small businesses. So when you register your business in sam.gov, it will automatically certify you as a small business based on your size, your NAICS code, and your size means how much money you make. So based on your how much money you're making, your NAICS code, how you identify woman, male, whatever, it will automatically certify you. Many people don't know that, but on the government side of it, that's how you get certified as a small business in the government side. So that used to be 25% goal. They dropped that down to 10%. Then we have a 5% across the board for small disadvantaged businesses, service disabled, veteran-owned small business, and woman-owned small business. But in the previous administration, there was $154.2 billion that was awarded to small businesses through these set-aside programs. And that's just a fraction of the government spend. And that's a fraction of what they're spending with large businesses. This is small businesses have made 154.2 billion in that previous year. That was the Biden Harris last year that was from. So I like to update this slide when I do this presentation. So if you've attended one of my presentations before, you'll see this slide get updated. And they do it on a rolling basis. So the government's fiscal year starts October 1st. So from October 1st to now, this is how much overall the government has spent. And I say this with an asterisk and a caveat that this is taken from the government website. This number seems extremely, extremely small. So I don't know how trustworthy this data is. This number is usually a whole lot larger. And also, it's a decrease. Usually, it's an increase in spend year over year with the government. This one is showing a decrease in spend, which is a little abnormal. And so, but this is what is available on the government website. I just pulled it out this weekend This is what they said they spent. I don't know. But you can check the government's websites and see how much they're spending on, and I have slides in here too that'll show you how much they're spending in different business categories. So um, this was uh, the business goal. So small business is still at the 25%. The 10%, that is the 8A businesses. So which I think they're getting rid of 8A. I think it's on hold right now. But they have a 10% goal for 8A businesses, 8A certified businesses. Then you see it's 5% across the board for small disadvantaged women and service disabled. And then the hub zone is the historically underutilized business zones, and that's at a 3%. So this is of the billions of dollars being spent. This is the set aside goals that the government has set. So they have 800 billion they're going to spend, and 5% of that is going to go to small disadvantaged businesses, and 5% is going to go to women owned small businesses. But again, these are certified businesses. So not just because you're a woman in business means you're eligible. You have to be a certified woman owned small business, certified service disabled veteran owned business. So here's an example from 2024 of the government spend. So on the left, you can see the NAICS code and then the business industry. And there's a lot of different types of businesses that can fall into each of these NAICS codes. But on the right, um, you can see how much was spent. So these are the top 10 industry codes with the government spend in 2024. And the highest is in engineering services at 52.7 billion. But then midway, you have like facility support at 38.4 billion. These are billions with a B, right? So think about all the businesses you know who do like janitorial services, um, house cleaning, things like that. They will fall into there. Shipbuilding and repairing, they're at 24.19 billion, right? On this next slide, this is also from 2024 and it showed the business goals. So I circled these because these sometimes are more popular. These are different departments that they have in the government. Um, so health and human services, they do a lot of purchasing. And so this is broken down by the prime. And then on the right, you have the subcontractors. So they have goals for both. So remember, the prime is if I'm going after a government contract and it's going to be under 628 digital design, but then I pull in Asha and ask her to be a subcontractor. She's also in marketing. Hey, girl, hey. And say, hey, Asha, do you want to be a subcontractor on this project? Asha's work would go towards the subcontractor goal. My work would go towards the prime goal. And so you can see the different goals that the agencies have set up. So the government has their own, 5%, 10% goals, but each agency also sets up their own goal and say, it's like, I grew up working in a hospital. So it's like the hospital has a goal of doing 20% in women-owned small businesses. But my department, I was in respiratory, right? The respiratory department may say we want to do 30% with women-owned small businesses. So that's just like what's happening here, right? So the government has a goal, but then each department has their goal. So you can see for small business goals, let's say health and human services, they have a goal of 23% for small business. For small disadvantage, it's at 14.75. And then they maintain the government's goals of the 5%, 5%, and 3% for service disabled veteran, certified woman, and the hub zones. So when you look at this more thoroughly and you get more acclimated with it, it starts to make a little bit more sense. The only thing is there are goals, right? They still have goals. They may be a little bit depleted, but the goals are still there, which means there's opportunities that are still there. So the next few slides just talk about, again, the spend, right? So this one has the NAICS codes and the industry. So facilities is at 15 billion that the government was spending. Computer system design was about 5 billion. Pharmaceutical preparation, maybe about 2.5, 3 billion. This one lists like this one, this category, all other professional, scientific, technical services, there's a lot that can be grouped in there. I have that NAICS code on my capability statement also. You have administrative management. That could be a lot of types of consulting, right? Both of those are closer to almost 2 billion, right? So it's not 15 billion, but it's still 2 billion. That's a billion with a B, right? Research and development, right? UConn contacted me about research and development. That's between like 1 point, well, not even 1.5, so 1.2, let's say, right? This one has more research and development, um, and it has more there. So whatever that NAICS code is, they're up to 400 million. Um, Wired technologies, closer to 400 million. Computer facilities management, around 400 million. And then it keeps going. So I like to include these for people who are like, I don't know if the government is going to buy what I do, right? This is my product, this is my service, but I don't know if there's opportunity there. The government buys absolutely everything. That's not a lie. The government buys everything. Sometimes it's about trying to figure out how to market to the government, right? When I first started my business as a writer, I was writing for individuals, B2C, right? I was doing resumes and business letters, right? I started a business and it was like, oh, maybe I should market towards businesses. What do businesses need? And it's the same thing with government, right? So you're playing on a higher level, which means your pricing also has to meet it, right? What I charge the government is not what I'm charging micro small businesses. Why? Micro small businesses don't have $400 million that they can spend in marketing or whatever it is, right? So one, you have to know how to do your pricing, but you also need to know how to package your product or service so that the government says, "Oh yeah, you know what? I think I do know that. I do need that, right?" So sometimes it's a bit of a mind shift change where you start to believe I can be a government contractor. I can get these corporate contracts because you can. So when we look at the socioeconomic designations, this is through the SBA. As you can see, the SBA logo is everywhere. These are different contracting vehicles. And we're not going to talk about all of them because we don't review them all. The ones that I really focus on are highlighted in red. We have the woman-owned small business. We have the hub zone. So the hub zone I mentioned briefly is the historically underutilized business zones. Your hub zone certification is another free one through the SBA, depends on the exact address of your business. So I work from home, right? So my house may be in a hub zone, but the house right next door to me may not be in a hub zone. So when you are applying for hub zone certification, the first thing you're going to do is go to the hub zone calculator, the map that the SBA has. You put in your address. If it turns green, you're good to go. You can get the hub zone certification. If it turns red, no, you are not in the hub zone. And that would only change if the government changes their what they consider to be in the hub zone. Also, if you have employees, where your employees live also will determine if you're in a hub zone. I believe it's like 30% of your employees have to be in a hub zone also. So last time I did my certification check, I had 3 employees and all of them were not in a hub zone. So although my house is in a hub zone, where they live are not in hub zones, so we weren't eligible for that. Um, I skipped over the GSA schedule. GSA schedule is a contracting vehicle where once you get on the schedule, contracts, RFPs they're not made public. When you're AA certified in GSA on the GSA schedule, opportunities they're funneled directly to people on those lists. So the general public doesn't even see them. So that is another backdoor way of getting contracts. The All Small Mentor Protege program through the SBA, they do offer this program. You have to come to that program with a mentor, another company that you're going to use as a mentor. They don't do a matchmaking for you. Then you have the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. Economically disadvantaged is just saying that I believe to be economically disadvantaged, you have to have a net worth of like less than you guys can research it, but it's like less than 4 million over a rolling 3-year period. So when I started doing my certifications, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do them all, but not the disadvantaged one because I'm not disadvantaged. And then I saw the definition of disadvantage and I was like, oh, we all disadvantaged. Okay, got it. So then you have the small disadvantaged business. So that one is for women-owned small business. This one is for small business. We talked about the 8A. The 8A, you're on the 8A, or you have the 8A certification for, I think it's 3 years or 6 years. And you can only be on it once. So you want to maximize your time on it. If you are awarded 8A, you want to maximize your time there. Then you have the veteran businesses. So you have veteran-owned small business, the service disabled veteran-owned small business, and then you have a veteran certification. And there are also the SBA now has like veteran support resources that you could tap into. So for your women-owned small business certifying agencies, this used to be a self designated certification where you would go into the SBA website, you would upload your information, you would say, yes, I own a woman-owned small business, you would get the certification. The SBA stopped that because they realized there were a lot of men doing it and taking opportunities that were supposed to have been set aside for women. So now, because of that, they took that the women-owned small business and they gave it to these 4 agencies. And so you can get your women-owned small business certification through these agencies. I get mine through WeBank because I'm already getting certified through WeBank as a WBE. So every year when I'm doing my renewal, I'm paying my $350 for my WeBank certification, and then I get the SBA Women-Owned Small Business for free. But these are the other agencies that you can also contact and try to get it through there. So we look at the certifying agencies. These are the different types. So I know I've been saying a lot of acronyms. We have the SBE, Small Business Enterprise, WBE, Women Business Enterprise, the BBE, which is the Black Business Enterprise or Black Owned Business Certification. MBE is the Minority Business Enterprise. The VOB is the Veteran Owned Business. And then you have the Service Disabled Veteran Owned Business. And then you have the DBE through the DOT, Department of Transportation. That's your disadvantaged business enterprise. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the changes to the DBE. Any questions about the certifications so far?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, so you're saying one is better off going for these private certifications rather than just sticking to what you get from the state and the SBA?
I think there are absolutely advantages of getting certified through WeBank and NMSCC and paying for those annually. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Matter of fact, WeBank in New York is doing an event, I think next month, that I just registered for. So I'm certified with WeBank. I just paid 200, I think it was 250 for this event because they're also allowing tabling. So it's like a vendor marketplace. So if you have a product or a service, you can come and promote it to hundreds of people at one time. So you also have opportunities like that. There's tons of opportunities when it comes to WeBank and NMSCC. With WeBank, I also serve on their regional forum. So WeBank in Metro New York is Metro New York and DMV, and they are trying to expand their reach into the different states that they cover. And so they asked me to serve on their regional forum where I can represent WeBank at different events. I can promote WeBank, and then that provides more exposure, right? Because it's voluntary, but it provides more exposure. It allows me to network deeper with WeBank, which is one of my goals this year, instead of having, because I have a vast, wide network. So instead of increasing that, going deeper in the networks that I have already. So there's lots and lots of opportunity available with WeBank and NMSDC. And Chrissy knows, because I just helped Chrissy get her certification. Which you got WeBank and Women Owned Small Business with the SBA? Yeah. And then we're going to finish with NMSDC and all of the others. But once you get in there, it's like a secret society. There's opportunities. I forgot to mention with NMSDC, the Eversource contract that I have came through on the member only newsletter that they send out. And so they put out RFPs that may be happening. So WeBank and NMSDC, they have small business members and then they have corporate members. So for instance, for NMSDC, where they all have regional offices. So we're with the Greater New England NMSDC. Um, so I'm one of their small business members. Eversource is one of their corporate members. So Eversource had an RFP coming out for copywriting, and they put that in their newsletter, in the G&E's newsletter. So one, you have to be a member, you have to be certified. Two, you got to be make sure you're on the email list, and you have to read the emails. So I read the email, I saw the opportunity, submitted a proposal, and we were awarded the contract. And we would have only been awarded that contract if we were certified. Non-members did not get access to that unless they're in Eversource's system where they're being notified about opportunities that are coming up. So lots of opportunities.
Sammy, I have a question.
Yes.
So I used to work at a marketing agency years ago, and they were part of the G&E MSDC. And I remember it not being very back in the day integrative in a are they more my question is, are they more supportive now than they used to be, or like what's your experience with them so far, other than getting an awesome an awesome account? But what is
besides that? All right, this is safe space, so I'll be candid. I had let my G&E certification lapse because I learned that the New York, New Jersey RPO, the regional office for NMSCC, was better and they supported their members better, is what I heard. And so I let it lapse and I said, when I renew, I'm going to go through New York, New Jersey. But either way, I was going to stay in NMSDC. Um, and WeBank and NMSDC sometimes offer sponsorships through like Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever. And so one of those sponsorships came up, and I was like, oh, yes, I'll go after that. So when I submitted our company for the sponsorship, on the back end, they automatically said, oh, you're in Connecticut, so you go through G&E. And I was like, I didn't want to go through G&E. And so now I'm still with G&E, but I met the woman. I went to because you got to be visible, you got to be out there. I went to a resource event in New York, and I met the woman who represents the New York, New Jersey NMSDC, and she was saying that you could buy, I forget the term, but you could buy an additional membership. So you could be with your RPO, your region, but you can pay into like a outside membership for any other RPO. So that was, and I actually thought about her, I think 2 days ago, because I want to contact her and figure out how much is that other membership. Because I definitely want to be affiliated with New York, New Jersey in some capacity. And if you get that membership, it's as if you're a regular member with them. So with G&E though, Fernanda, there's about to be some changes that's happening with G&E. Peter Hurst, who has been the president for quite a long time, just announced his retirement, so he's gone as of January 1st. Ramona Davis, love Ramona, she's local in the Connecticut area. She was the certification manager. She's no longer there because NMSDC centralized their certification process, whereas each RPO used to do their own certifications. Now National is doing it. So she lost her job due to that. So, and NMSDC, G&E created some new company too. So they got new things that's going to be coming out. I don't know how that's going to look. And when they get new leadership coming in, I don't know how it's going to look. But I can tell you change is coming because Peter's out.
Yeah, I remember Peter being the president when I was the one.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
And I will also say the president of the national NMSDC, Don Cravens, met him in Miami. Mr. Cravens actually he invited me as his guest to the Miami conference. He is amazing. When I tell you Don Cravens himself is amazing, president of NMSDC, the change that he's going to bring to the organization is, I know it's going to be phenomenal already. That man is amazing. So I'm excited about what's going to happen with NMSDC. There's also going to be changes with WeBank because there's been changes in leadership for the New York WeBank. Their president just resigned and she's going on to another opportunity. So it's going to be new blood in there. Unfortunately, some people at WeBank National have passed away recently. So there's going to be changes there also. But what I tell people all the time too, though, is whether you're certified or not, get on all of these agencies' email lists. You don't know the types of opportunities that are made available just because you're on their public email list. So, you're welcome. Oh, Alyssa, check the replay that I send. There's an offer at the end of this, so you don't want to miss that. So yes, get on everyone's email list. Okay. So DBE updates. So with this current administration, they said, bye. They said you could be certified as a disadvantaged business enterprise based on your social or economic disadvantage. This administration has changed the definition of what socially and economically disadvantaged means, and they removed race and sex-based presumptions from it. So just because you're black doesn't mean you're disadvantaged. Just because you're white doesn't mean you're not disadvantaged. So this, yes, you'll get a copy of this. So this applies to the DBE certifications and then the ACDBE. Those are the businesses certified to do airport in the do business in the airports. So this is the IFR that just came out in October. What credentials matter most for nonprofits entering corporate or federal contracting for the first time? None of these certifications apply to nonprofits. Nonprofits cannot be certified in any of these. So this is the new rule. So anyone who's certified as a DBE or ACDBE, their certifications are now decertified and they have to be reevaluated. So for someone like me who is certified DBE in 14 states, it's an amazing time right now. So what the new rule is anybody who was certified as a DBE, they now need to submit a personal narrative and a personal net worth that demonstrates their social and economic disadvantage, and it cannot have anything to do with race or sex. So I think in December, they finally let us know what does that mean. So to be a certified DBE in other states, first you have to get certified as a DBE in your home state where you're registered. So I'm certified in Connecticut as a DBE. I need to submit my personal narrative and my personal net worth statement to the Connecticut DOT, Department of Transportation. They will reevaluate it and see if I'm deemed disadvantaged. Once they reinstate my certification, then I can take that certification and send it to all 14 other states that we're certified in. So right now, DBE is not technically still on pause because you can apply, you just have to prove your disadvantage. So these are the national level certifications. At the top is the NMSDC, National Supplier Development Council, certifies you as a MBE. Underneath that is WeBank, which is the Women's Business Educational National Council, I want to say, that they certify you at the national level as a women's business enterprise. Top right is, these are free, are the Buy Black certification, certifies you, and that's through U.S. Black Chambers and Buy Black. And that certifies you as a Black-owned business. BBE is the next certification coming out. These are two separate organizations that are doing these certifications, and they're trying to get it recognized as a BBE, a Black Business Enterprise. And then you have the NGLCC, and those are for people who identify as LGBTQAI+. So we are running short on time, so I'm going to go through this quickly. These are some of the things that may be asked from you when you're doing your certifications. This is usually the bottleneck that holds people up. They ask for things like a bank signature card. That's not your debit card. That's something from the bank. They want your operating agreement, articles of organization. If you have a board, they want that information. So you want to make sure you are compiling all of your information. I tell people to save your documents in a folder on your computer. That way, most of these organizations are asking for the same document. So instead of trying to search and track down this information, just save it on your computer and you know how to get to it later. So, certification best practices, I like to say lead with your qualifications. Mention your certifications last. Like, yes, you are certified, but I'm certified because I own a really dope business and this is what we do. Um, Place an emphasis on their supplier diversity goals. I have a friend who likes to say we put um, the S in your ESG because of the social piece of it, right? Maintain your annual renewals. If you don't, if it lapses, then you're going to be out and you got to start the process all over again. You'll get an email saying congratulations, you'll be certified. You're certified. It'll have an attachment or it'll take you to the database where your certification is. Save those as a PDF on your computer. And then brag about it. Put it in your newsletter, put it on social media, make sure it's on your website, put it in your marketing materials. So these are some of the RFP databases where you can register with your NAICS codes, with your keywords, and then when opportunities come up that match what you do, you'll get an email saying, here's an opportunity. I literally get about maybe 30 emails a day of different types of opportunities. And some of them may be a good match and some of them may not. For Apex Accelerators, they have their database, but you have to sign up with them. You have to work with them, get into their system. They put you in their system. So go get you a counselor with Apex Accelerators. Apex helps you if you want to do business with the government. They don't do work on the corporate side at all. You have SBDC that can help you on the corporate side. If you have a women's business center, they may be able to help a little bit. But Apex is going to be federal. Sam.gov. Once you're registered in Sam.gov, you can go back in. Sam.gov doesn't give you RFPs, but if you're working with Apex, the database that they pull RFPs from will include whatever's listed on Sam.gov if it matches what you're doing. You're welcome, Laquita. And these are some corporate contracting databases. So Supplier IO, Ariba, Stars. These are databases where you're going to find like Pepsi, Nabisco, BMW. They're going to be in these types of databases. You will not find those opportunities in this space. So marketing your document, right? Include your your certifications, your capability statement, and RFPs. Make sure you have this information on your website. You're using social media hashtags, hashtag MWBE, hashtag certified woman owned, right? Adding it to your marketing materials. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it here, but nope. I have one of my brochures here, our rack cards, and down on the bottom are our different logos for our certifications. Include the logos on your capability statement, attending matchmakers and networking events, attending agency conferences, registering in different databases that I just mentioned, and then marketing your NAICS codes, your industry codes, letting people know you're aware and you do know what those codes are. So we are wrapping up, and this is a worksheet that I made available for you guys. So you can type in that bit.ly and go to this website to get this worksheet. It's actually like a workbook, thanks to AI. This was Notebook LM. But if you scan that code, it will take you to the workbook that I have for you guys. It's just a snapshot of what's there. And that's just to help you along the way while you're putting all this together. But then also, I created an accelerator program. And so if you want assistance with any of this that we talked about, certifications, capability statements, corporate bios, feel free to take advantage of our accelerator program. And it's right now is $99 for those attending the webinar, and then it's going to go up. Haven't determined the price yet, like $299. After, because I'm doing this webinar today and I'm doing this webinar again on Friday. So after Friday, yesterday's price is not today's price. So if you want in on that accelerator program, it's going to be a cohort. And right now we have about 6 people registered for that, including Fernanda, who's in there. So take advantage of that information and I'll send this out to you. So if you can't screenshot or do the QR code or get the website, You'll have that information. So, any questions? And I'll go back to here. Anybody need the bye, love you. Anybody need the worksheet again? Here's the worksheet. And then we have the accelerator program.
Sammy, well, you'll send it includes the presentation, right? Because I'm driving, so I can't scan it.
Yes. Oh, for the
Okay.
worksheet? Yes.
Yeah, for the worksheet, that'll be helpful. Thanks.
Yes, I can send that over to you. That was a lot, y'all. And we made it right on time. Any other questions?
Can we talk after?
Yes, we can talk after.
It's not going to be long.
But your question may be something someone else has. Thanks, Stanley. Thank you all. I'm glad you came. Thank you for participating. If you want to come back Friday just to hear it again, we're going to do the same thing again Friday. Friday is from 12 to 1:30. So if you're available, come drop back in. We can do this again. Otherwise, I would love to have you in the accelerator program, get you ready to do this corporate and federal contracting.
Thanks, Sammy. Have a good night.
Good night, Greg. All right, let me stop sharing.
Thank you,
Thank
Sam.
you.
So
Thank
informative.
you. Thank you all for coming. I'm so glad y'all were here.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
Chrissy, are you calling me or are you staying on? I can't hear you yet.
No, I think I'm decided to stay on because since we're already here, not a line.
Okay. Let me go back to uh-oh.
Sammy, should I call you or text you in regards to what you wanted us to talk about?